I should probably. I feel like I should. It says we're live. Hey everyone, if you're hanging out with us. I don't know if anyone joins that quickly. I don't think anyone joins that quickly. Maybe on video on demand, they're watching this now.
I would be surprised if anybody hops in just that fast.
Yeah, like they get the notification, or unless they're waiting for us. That would be kind of cool.
That's right, because you started doing the these as like premieres.
They're
events. Hanging out.
So like they show up on like YouTube or Facebook as like these events. Oh, my hair! What is going on with my hair? They show up as like these events, and they basically allow you to like either queue up for them or you know they're coming, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's some stuff that I do that for because like a couple of people I follow that do music stuff. It's kind of fun to hop in the chat early.
Yeah,
and just bing bong backing around.
Bing bong. Speaking of chat, if you're hanging out here with us, please let us know you're here with us by saying hello in chat or by giving us a follow, a like, any of those things. Those really help the algorithms, help other people find the show. I love algorithms now that YouTube has featured us in their shorts. Those are it's been really helping us out, helping people find the show.
Always a good look.
Yeah, Blake, tonight, did you see the story for tonight?
No, I haven't. What's up?
Oh boy, we are talking about games improving in-flight passenger safety.
Oh, that's ironic.
It's a good story.
Cool.
Patrons chose it, of course. It's actually a report by the FAA. So it'll be fun to break that down. I added something in the show notes, and you may have seen this if you're watching. You may have seen this on our social channels earlier. Posted on Discord, on Slack, Instagram and Twitter. There's other platforms. I don't think it's appropriate for LinkedIn because the news cycle on LinkedIn is so slow. And Facebook, I was kind of iffy on, maybe, but I did end up posting kind of like a preview of tonight's episode, right? So we've, hey, here's tonight's episode. Have any of you experienced, have experience with using games as training? And we did get a response back from a friend of the pod. So we'll be reading that on the show tonight. But yeah, if you're out there, if you've seen that tweet or have experience doing or using games as training, let us know. Reach out to us on any of our platforms. We'll pull it in for the show tonight. I kind of wanted to start doing this as like a social thoughts. Like what do other people think about the story before we get to the story? So that way we can pull them in on the show. It's always kind of fun hearing your own name on a podcast. And it provides us another kind of avenue of interaction with you all. So I'm going to try to start doing that. Look out for like our social thought tweet on tweets or Instagrams or whatever on Thursdays. We only know the story on Thursday, which is why it doesn't go out sooner. There's going to be some other opportunities for interaction with us. So be on the lookout for some of those opportunities. Anyway, you're gonna do the blurb, yeah? Is that right? I mean, it's a little weird because you got the whole it's a report. It's a report by the FAA, so it's gonna be a little hard to put together. Let's see. I might be able to help you out there, Blakey. If you are just joining us, thank you. We appreciate you hanging out with us. Dude, so I meant to tell you, Barry Kirby of the Other Human Factors podcast joined me for office hours on Tuesday. It was a ton of fun. Talked about his climate ergonomics effort. And so I want to bring that up again. It was I think it's just climateergonomics.org. I'll find out for sure, but we retweeted it on our socials. And I wanted to bring attention to it because it is such a massively important thing to know about, and how we can help as human factors practitioners to help with that effort of climate change. Especially because that report from the IPCC earlier this week. Oh boy.
Yeah, always good to get more stuff out about human factors.
Yeah, you can follow them on Twitter. They're Climate Ergs. Climate Ergs. So yeah, I mean it's a great effort. You should all go check it out. Let's see here.
What's like the thesis of the effort?
How can human factors help with climate change? That's
Any insights or thoughts from it?
As to like what we can do, well, it's still forming and we're still trying to figure it out. But just anecdotally, there's a lot of things that psychology can do, and by extension, human factors engineering. That another a professor out of Cal State San Marcos, Wes Schultz, he's doing work on how to encourage pro-social behavior through things like messaging, and basically how can you message something to somebody to encourage them to use less electricity, to recycle more, to engage in these pro-social behaviors that we're looking for, right, to help the planet. But you can imagine how human factors could play a role in that too. Like, what does an interface look like for something that you're using to help reduce energy? How can you use or how can you design an interface on like an oil rig so that way there's less accidents and thus less oil spills, things that are damaging to the environment? Human factors is hugely important for a lot of those different avenues. And so, I think there's some really cool things that can come out of that effort. But yeah, needless to say, office hours on Tuesday was a hoot. I was doing something and I got distracted by that. I gotta post something else in here. Let's see. Okay. So you're writing up the blurb. Do you need some help with that? Because I think I may have a pre-thing going. Maybe. We'll see. Do you need help? Let me know.
I don't think so. I'm just going to use the abstract and cut it up.
I think that's good. Okay. Then I will start looking for the It Came Froms. Yeah, we are good. Okay. All right. What do we feel like talking about tonight, Blake? Do you want to talk about like professional development? You want to talk about like early career? You want to talk about like late career?
Let's hit something we haven't talked about if there's content for it, because I feel like we hit a lot of those things.
We do. What about this one? I've always heard about developers not taking designers seriously, but I didn't have that happen to me until today.
Well, there you go. That's a good one.
That is an okay one. I mean, I feel like we talk about that, but basically the gist is the devs are not happy with the usability of the solution, impacting 1% of the users. Yeah, we'll bring that in. I like that. So I was going to copy them this time. Yeah. Last time I did that, and it worked out great. We'll do this. So if anyone's watching and have questions, I prioritize those. I like prioritizing those. I'll bring down the music a little bit. It's a little much. The game, by the way, the game for tonight's episode is quite fun to play. Highly recommend anyone who's watching along to download the game. It is called, hang on, I have it up. It's called Air Safety World. You know what? I probably should bring this up in another tab on a shared screen here for you all. Add source. Wait, no, that's wrong one. Share screen. That's what I'm looking for. Here, I'll show this because this is relevant to the episode tonight. I always feel like we're scrambling in this pre-show, but I don't feel like we're scrambling tonight, which is good. So it looks like this here. Let me share that for you. That's the Google Play Store. It's called Air Safety World. We can watch this little trailer here. Check this out. Look at how cool. Look at these graphics and how cool this game is here. Personal safety coach. Look at that. Oh, you are figuring out how to be safe on an airplane. There you go. Look at that. It's good stuff. So that is what we're going to be talking about tonight. So if you want to, you can go ahead and download this. Is there a way to change on Twitch what game we're playing? Because that'd be funny to have that show up.
Yeah, I think you can do it live. I don't think it'll mess it up or give it any hard times.
Let's see. Edit. Oh, it's an event, so I don't know if I can do it. Anyway. All right. Whatever. Yeah, go download it. Check it out so you can see what we're talking about tonight on the show. All right. We need another 2 It Came Froms. I'm going to keep looking here. You're looking for something different. Blake wants something different. Feel like I suck at my new job. I don't know if this is imposter syndrome or not. Let me take a quick glance. They said it would take about 6 months to get familiar with it. Feel that they completely missed the mark on one of their new product features. Over-designed, too visionary. They don't know. They don't have much knowledge of the users of the product. This is not imposter syndrome.
No, that's pretty serious.
It's embarrassing in our group discussions. I've shut down because I feel like I don't know enough to add to the conversation. Let's talk about this. This is
that's a heavy topic.
This one. Oh gosh, this one is pretty heavy. That's heavy, Doc. That is heavy. Let's talk about that. There we go. We'll post that in there. So we got 2. Let's find one more.
Okay, cool.
How's the weather in San Diego today?
It's so hot. So
Is
hot.
It's toasty. I think the whole West Coast is on fire. Literally and figurative. Yeah.
Oh, Christ.
It's probably not the right words to use.
Yeah. Well, reality is sometimes a pain.
Yeah. Good.
Let's do that. It's like we turned on the air for the first time all summer last night.
Yeah.
It was glorious.
Thankfully, I'm in an apartment that's very well insulated. And we only have to run the air for like 10 minutes for it to cool all the way down.
Wow.
And it holds it for hours. It's insane.
I'm moving to Washington. I'm tired of all of this. Although normally my apartment is awesome because there's usually a cross breeze, but yesterday it was just like the world was a stale just heat pit outside.
Yeah.
I don't mind it as much because it's like when I'm outside because it's like not humid heat to me at least. But when the apartment just gets like super stuffy, like you're walking through butter of heat, that's when it gets a little bit nuts.
Hey, we got Kristen in the chat. Hey, Kristen. Thanks for joining us.
Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday.
Friday's almost here. Thank goodness.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I walked outside earlier and it felt like a warm hug. Well, because it's a little humid up here, right?
I was gonna ask, what's the weather like where you're at now?
It feels good. It's 100 degrees.
Woo.
So yeah, it's hot, but like, I feel like, and by the way, this is a thesis, so I'm not sure. I feel like the weather is directly impacting my internet service because I don't think the infrastructure up here is capable of handling the heat very well, and so I'm wondering if like it slows down the internet somehow.
Oh, that's
or not. So anyway, if I drop tonight, Blake, you're gonna have to carry the show for a couple minutes while I try to get back online.
We'll figure it out.
We will. Yeah, no, it feels like a warm hug though outside, and it's not terrible. I've been in 100-degree heat before, and it's not. I don't know. It seems more tolerable up here for some reason. It might be the humidity, but it's not unpleasant. Maybe it's just because I'm from Southern California that I feel I'm used to it or something.
Yeah, maybe. It's just, I guess, where I grew up, I had so much intense humidity. I just nothing bothers me out here. I think it's great.
Oh, another how to get participants for user research question.
Oh man, there's an anecdote that I would love to be able to share, but I don't think I can.
I wish you could share. Let's see. HCI. Oh god, hang on. I'm so tired. I feel like I should grab a drink, an energy drink before the show tonight, because I'm just like...
Are you fried?
I am. It's been a busy week. It's been a really crazy week. Let's see here. How about HCI and accessibility on international scale? I am researching whether digital accessibility is part of course curriculum on an international scale. Here's a questionnaire. Please take it. Nope, we're not talking about that.
Oh, man. We can go through how well it's put together. Man, I can't tell you the last time I read an FAA paper. It was actually to do my thesis was the last time I read an FAA paper.
Wow. A little bit ago, huh?
Yeah.
How about this one? How long do you need to wait for a response once you've delivered a take-home challenge?
That was in my inbox the other day. That's a good one.
You like that one?
I don't know. Have you done a take-home challenge before?
No. I mean, yes, but no. Like I've done. No, I've not done a take-home challenge. I've done design challenges in the moment, right? Like hour-long design challenges.
Yeah.
I've not done a take-home challenge. Have you?
So I've done development take-home challenges.
Okay.
And I don't know. There's just not that much to say. Like if you don't hear back in some kind of reasonable time, then it's not good.
Well, what is a reasonable time? Is it 2 weeks? Is it a week? Is it?
Yeah, probably. I don't know. 2-week frame is my thought. Usually companies are pretty good about giving you a window when you walk away from it or when you hand it in. Doesn't mean they always follow it, but.
Oh, dude, I like this one. I saw this one the other day and I really liked it. How about this one? Is it normal for UX tests to keep failing? Did we talk about that one?
I don't know. Doesn't sound familiar.
No. Okay, we talked about it at the lab meeting. You were not there, but I like that one and I want to bring it in. I actually really do like that one. So we'll let's see here. That's where I remembered it from. Okay. Cool. Yeah, we'll bring that one in. We got our 3.
Cool.
What time is it? We got 10 minutes. How's the blurb?
It's good. Ready to jam. Excellent.
So then, what do we do to kill time, Blake? That's the real question. What do you wanna? What do you?
One-way analysis. Oh God, I haven't seen the words ANOVA spelled out in 5 years. I'm just reading through some of the data analysis techniques they use for this study. Because it's not the same, but I wanted to do use some of the video game literature when I was doing my thesis, because there's actually a game that you play as you're going through ATC school, and that was basically what my thesis was really centered on anyway, was training effects of this particular game. But we couldn't.
Oh, this will be perfect. This is right up your alley then.
Well, yeah, because we couldn't support the video game stuff that I wanted to do, because at that time, like in 2015, first-person shooter video game research was really popular in terms of the cognitive benefits that it could have. And so that was one of the things I really wanted to do my thesis on, but had to shift so I could actually graduate in a timely manner. Which
that's important.
Still did not do.
Oops. Let's see here. Yes, if you're watching, hello. We're gonna go live for the show in about 8 minutes now. We have a Twitter, Instagram, Discord, Slack thing out there. If you have any experience with training in games and want to let us know about it, you can either drop it right here in the chat. We'll read it on the show, or you can get to us on our socials. I'll be monitoring those throughout the course of the show tonight to see if anyone else responds. We did get some back, so excited to see what's going on with those social thoughts. Should we make a hashtag like HFC social thoughts?
Can do. Why not?
That'd be kind of cool. I'm gonna plug it on the show. Never mind. I'm not gonna talk about it right now. Let's see here. I also had some notes that I wanted to bring up that I feel I am failing to find. I threw them somewhere. Did they go? I'm just a jumble of thoughts right now. You know what, Blake? It's the Blake Show. I'll be right back.
Do it. All right. I'm going to delete some of these tidbits that we have for this week. Man, that is chopping my head off. Let's do one of these. Yeah. Why not? Anybody in the chat play video games or have any experience with playing them in a training context or studying them by any chance? It's kind of a niche topic to be studying, I will admit.
What's the topic?
Studying video games and their like impacts on social psychology type stuff. I know neuroscience got really, really into it for a couple of years. But I don't know if anything else happened from that. Nick, question for you, since we are, 7 minutes away.
We are.
Do we have any intel stuff from our crew, or we?
I did not see any intel this week. That's
perfect.
Okay.
Can I get rid of the stuff we have from last week?
Or yes, you can. The only thing. Hold on. Let me check the notes here. The only thing I want you to keep is the social thought there.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. And if we can pull in anything else, that's great. I'm actually pulling in some intel that I myself have generated.
Perfect.
It's not too much, but it's something. So we'll see. And we also got Kristen here. She can jump in with some fun facts.
Tidbits.
Let's see here. Aviation safety. Okay, yeah, these are just general concepts. I don't know. I don't have much to go off of here.
It'll be all right. We'll figure it out. Could try and rack my brain for some of the stuff that I remember from like 10,000 years ago.
Good. You're gonna carry the show tonight. Like,
perfect.
Cool, man. Whoa. I have been. Okay, I don't know if this is not a confession. This is a declaration. What? It's not
confession.
It's
not a confession.
statement.
It's a declaration. Are you sure it's not a statement?
What's the difference between a declaration and a statement?
I have no idea.
I declare.
You're declaring something. It's got a little more oomph to it.
It does have a little bit more
stating
oomph.
it.
I am stating that I have at my desk a variety of tools, like needle nose pliers or tweezers, or utility knives.
Just stacked with goodies. Yeah.
I do have all these at my desk for a reason. I am currently building the pod for the pod.
Well, that's right. Yeah.
Which this week you're not seeing too much. I did this weekend shift all my monitors now instead of on those little like robotic arms that hold up their displays. I now have they're actually drilled directly into the studs of the framing that I've created for this pod.
Cool.
So they are perfectly aligned to my desk. So I am dead center in my desk right now, and because I am mounting into the studs, I have the side monitors. I have 3-headed display here. Each side is mounted perfectly at a 45 to the main monitor. So it's the perfect setup. It feels good. This is a little bummer to me because it's not centered right now. Next week, probably. We'll see.
Are you talking about the particle board stuff that's behind you, or are you talking about the actual setup of the shelves and whatnot?
The bookshelves themselves, right? They're going to be next week. What you'll likely see, this door will go away. That's basically your view. This door is going to go away. I'm going to make this door disappear.
Oh my god! It's a magic trick, dudes. Get ready.
And yeah, you watch this door disappear. And the other thing is that these bookshelves will be centered to me and a little closer.
So are they going to be part of the pod?
They're going to be part of the pod.
Interesting. Very cool.
For now. Long term, probably not, but we'll see. Anyway, I have all these at my desk, and that's the whole reason I brought it up is because I have these neodymium magnets that you might hear. They're not too big. They're actually rather small. And the packaging, I have taken one out. Fun fact, you can use these to find studs in the wall. So if you were to, because it attaches to the screws.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, so you can find screws in the wall just by...
just by rubbing some magnets on the wall.
Yeah, there's one right over here. Hang on. I'll find it. Maybe.
Content.
Quality content. Watch Nick try to find a screw in a wall using magnets.
Nick the human stud finder.
All right, I can't find it. Anyway. I have one of these suckers just in case.
Oh, I have one of those as well.
Is that the Tavul?
It's I can't even remember what it was.
Is it exactly
Mine's
yellow?
This? It's gross, but it works. It finds the studs and it shoots a laser for all that kind of good stuff.
Oh wow,
too.
that's insane. That's
it's
great.
nice.
All right. Hey, we're 2 minutes out from the show tonight. If you are joining us, be sure to give us a like, follow, all that stuff. That really helps out the show, helps other people find us. The algorithms are doing their magic, and will help people like you find the show. So if you like the show, chances are someone like you will like the show. So hit all those buttons. It's free to you. I feel
What's the energy drink of choice this weekend or this weekend, this evening.
It's Monster Ultra Watermelon.
Ooh,
there you go. Not sponsored.
Tasty.
Not sponsored. It's okay. Yeah, we'll get through it. I feel really ill prepared for tonight's show, but that's okay. It'll be a fun time.
Usually is.
And we will get through it. I think we got some fun questions to answer. And anyway, so if you hear clanking, that's me playing with my neodymium. Can you hear all this commotion? Yeah. Oh, geez. All right. I'm gonna out of the way so I don't fidget with them. All right. Get out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here.
That's funny because I definitely have various fidget things that I have on my desk.
I need plastic fidget things. Oh, okay, geez. All right, it's 5 o'clock. We'll be right back. Blake, get your audacity up.
It's up.
Okay, great. It's not up for me. All right, we're going to start just a minute late. Okay. All right, we'll be right back.
Welcome to Human Factors Cast, your weekly podcast for human factors, psychology, and design.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Human Factors Cast. I'm your host, Nick Roome. I'm joined today by Mr. Blake Arnsdorff.
How's it going?
Hey, Blake. It's going.
We're here.
It's going. We're here. We're recording this live on August 12th, 2021. This is Human Factors Cast. Quick programming notes to everybody. I am changing my office hours. Next Tuesday, they will not happen. They will be happening on Monday instead from 4 to 5 p.m. Pacific. It's not a big change, but something at the top here for these programming notes. In addition to that, we got something a little bit different for you all this weekend. It's going to be a fun deviation from our normal deep dives. So you may have noticed one of our deep dives is not necessarily missing this week. We're just moving it, and it's not going to be on the topic that we talked about last week. So it's we're trying something new with the deep dives. So we're going to try some of these topics that are of interest. Let me just say that that are maybe not covered on the show, right? So the Olympics just ended. So if you're curious about human factors and the Olympics, you might want to check out the deep dive when it drops this weekend. So check back for that. Blake, is there anything else? I feel like there's programming notes, but I'm missing them. I don't know. I'm fidgeting.
I think you're good. We got some cool stuff coming up from the deep dive side, and you changed your office hours, so I think you're good. No big news.
All right. Anyway, you're here for Human Factors News. That's right. This is the part of the show all about human factors news. This is where we talk about everything related to the field of human factors. This week, we have gaming and transportation, aviation, and safety. But it could be anything. But as long as it relates to the field of human factors. Blake, what's our story this week?
So this week, we're talking a little bit about how games can influence passenger safety. So a study from the Federal Aviation Administration, or the FAA, evaluated how serious game, the air safety world, could be used as a tool for passenger education. So Serious Games is a passive or persuasive technology application developed by the University of Udine in Italy. The objective of this project was to improve the level of occupant safety and incident survivability by making information more transparent and effective to flying public through the use of video games. This study evaluated information retention results from 3 topics of passenger education information presented to each participant in 3 various ways, so a 3x3. And the study found that a significant difference in retention was based on the presentation style. So after playing the Serious Game, retention of information was significantly better than after reviewing the briefing card or a video briefing for all different assessments that were used. So having a participant virtually perform the action being taught ended up creating a better understanding of the action and resulted in better retention of that information. So finding that knowledge retention is improved through an interactive style of information presentation suggests that passenger safety briefing materials using an interactive medium may improve passenger knowledge of safety procedures, which could improve adherence to those safety procedures, especially during an emergency. So, Nick, this is something I think we've probably touched on a bunch of times throughout the entirety of the podcast. Using video games in training, whether it's like from a VR headset or just a straight up game to kind of get you immersed in something. But I think this is a great application that we really haven't seen in flying and then also passenger safety.
Yeah, so I want to talk about a few things with this, but I think just generally this is an awesome story, and huge shout out to our patrons for picking this week. It kind of is a confluence of a lot of interesting things going on here. You have games, you have aviation, you have safety, you have training. And so the one thing that I want to mention right here at the top is that, yes, we have talked about the VR applications in the past. And this is not a VR application. Let's get that out of the way. But the video game that they're playing is pretty low fidelity, and that's okay. It just goes to show that fidelity does not equal an increase or decrease in efficacy, right, towards some of these training applications. My general thoughts on this is that this is kind of, that's the word I'm looking for without being too negative here. It's seemingly obvious that the more that you do to practice something, the better retention you will have for that thing. And we can certainly talk about that, but I think generally this is a great way to kind of communicate what tasks need to be done in the event of an emergency. Blake, I want to get your general thoughts on this piece. And I do want to go into the reason why they did this to begin with.
Sure. So, I mean, I much like you, I don't really know a better way to say it, but I think the end of the blurb kind of summed it up. Like, it does present itself as kind of like a no duh. This should make a little bit more, it should have more retention because it's an interactive medium. Now, if we really kind of think back and think about the fact that, like, from our original schooling, right, for human factors or HCI, anything that deals with either one of those topics, it should be kind of obvious that this will happen. You'll have a little bit better retention if you're doing some, almost active learning versus just passively listening to somebody show you a video or talk you through anything. Because now you have the potential, even I guess in a virtual world, which I know you're much more familiar with them than I am, but the fact that you're doing something that's mimicking what the instructions told you to do should just likely give you a little bit more of, those cognitive markers to know what to do if that situation maybe arose in the real world. The interesting thing is what's that transfer of knowledge outside of like a pre and post test world. Like, let's say you had an accident on the plane and you had to respond in a certain way based off of any of the topics covered. But I think it's a cool first step to show how, one, maybe we end up making, the flight experience that much more fun for people or more enjoyable, and potentially actually have people really pay attention and learn how to, do things like brace if there was an impact, or, how to use your oxygen mask appropriately. Because I would imagine, and all I can really do is speculate, but I would imagine that if you were asked to do some of these tasks that you maybe have heard, 10 or 20 times through various flights, you still may not be able to do them, very effectively or remember all of the steps. So doing something like this, it's a little more involved, should provide you with a pretty good trade-off of like spending a little bit of time playing a game and then being able to do it actually in the real world. So I think it's an awesome study, but I do agree with you that it felt like it was pretty obvious, at least based off of like the human factors and psychology background that I think we both have.
Okay, you brought up some really great points that I want to touch on. So I don't know where to go. Let me start first by saying I have play tested this. I've seen this application. It's widely available for you to download. The game itself is called Air Safety World. It's on Android and iOS. You can go download it, play it while you're listening to this if you like. And what it does is it sets you basically through a tutorial of all the things that you would expect, right? You can go and do like how to put on your vest, or how to brace for an impact, or put on the oxygen mask. There's a couple other ones like emergency exits on a specific model of planes. You can, select if it's an Airbus or a Boeing, and it will know where the exits are on that specific model. Even within, Boeing, there's several different models of aircraft. And so, it will know where it is, and it'll place you at a random spot in the airplane, and it'll tell you where you're looking at. There's also how to operate the emergency doors. So I thought this was, so look, like it looks hokey. Like I want to bring this up on stream, but we are an audio podcast, so I'm going to try to describe it the best I can. It is I don't want to say low fidelity. It's a mobile game. And so you look at this and you're like, yes, that is of mobile quality, right? And basically, here I have it up for those watching on the stream. It is of mobile quality, and you can see that there are several different briefings that you can do, and basically as they go through it, they're instructing you to do these things. And the reason I bring this up is you said, for somebody who's been on many flights, who's heard this many times before, there's the likelihood that even they might not know exactly what to do in this scenario. And I, like I said, spent about 20 minutes on this game earlier, going through all the tutorials, making sure I understood for, as research for tonight's episode. And, I will say I'm honestly a little surprised with how little I knew about some of these tasks. So if you think about the 5 tasks that I mentioned, being able to brace for impact, that I knew roughly, right? Like I knew, you put your head down. I didn't maybe even visualize putting your feet behind your knees or putting your arms under your thighs, right? I didn't think to do all that, but now I do, right? Like it's given me a new kind of outlook on this. And at first I was kind of like lukewarm on this study, but after actually going through this and doing it, I'm like really impressed with this. So, the life vest, I didn't, it's where is it located? It's under the seat. You pull it out, you put it on, you strap it over, you tighten it up, and then you inflate by pulling the tabs. You do the oxygen mask, right? That one I feel like I got down. I feel like that one's easiest one. But the emergency exits was fun too. It's like they plop you in a random part of the plane. Where is it? And they even do like a trick on you, right? They put you in the back of the plane and they say, where's the nearest one? And you look forward, right? And you're like, oh, that's that one. But no, it's actually in the galley behind you. It's like, it's really cool. And then the door operation, I would never have thought how to open a door on an airplane, because you should probably, hopefully never need it. But like, now I know how to open a door on an airplane because it showed me. Anyway, I'm needless to say, I'm pretty impressed with the capability of being able to show all these. And, even the simple interactions of like placing hands on your thighs to figure out where they go, and moving your feet to figure out where they go. I think that interaction was enough for me to retain that. I did this about 2 hours ago. And if you think about flight time, hopefully it'd be enough for me to retain during my flight. So I feel like I've been doing a lot of talking. Blake, any thoughts on what I just said?
Yeah, so now looking at the game itself, because I hadn't played it, so this is really cool just to see kind of the approach they took. So basically, you're almost choosing your coach for the game and then selecting from these different tasks that Nick talked about. And just as like a personal anecdote, I've always been terrified that I'm going to have to one day open the emergency door and not know how to do it, and it'd be just terrifying. So this seems like it would be a great way to learn how to actually do it right. But I can only imagine that this medium of teaching people things, especially the more intense ones like opening the door, because they're not really showing you any of that stuff physically, it just has probably a better ability to actually teach somebody something, even if it was just like a video they were watching, because this seems much more in depth than some of the quick tutorials like air flight attendants are typically able to give, having to like swap out the different pieces of equipment they're using and things like that. So I think all in all, this, again, it makes sense, but the presentation is really, really well done. And I could imagine it would be engaging, and definitely like the retention rate, like you're kind of talking about, it makes sense because you're only going through a small amount of material. I'm sure the, experiences are not very long because it's meant to like quickly get you informed what you need to know and what you need to do. And even the study itself, and it's both like its post-test formats, was finding that there was retention even after the typical 90-minute time frame. So it's pretty cool stuff overall.
Let me comment on a couple things, and then we'll get to some of the chat here. So I do want to comment on the length of time. I took like 20 minutes doing this to go through everything. That seems like a long time for me to do this while I'm sitting on the tarmac. And you know what? I'll even rope in Kristen from chat's comment right now. Sounds very beneficial. But do you think people will ever really utilize this resource. Most don't even watch the flight attendants act this out before the flight.
Nope.
So great point, Kristen. And that brings me back to actually the purpose of this study, because I think it's hugely important. So I want to bring up a couple of facts here from the article here, if I can find, or the report rather. It's not an article. So let's just go over some of these studies here that the FAA has conducted, right? So in 2000, NTSB did a study, investigated 46 accidents, bunch of people, right? Let's just look at percentages here. Of the 377 passengers who reported whether they watched the safety briefing, 50 passengers said they didn't watch the briefing. 182 passengers reported at least they watched at least 75% of the briefing. 457 returned questionnaires. 247 passengers reported, or roughly 54% reported they had not watched the entire briefing because they had seen it before. 70 passengers reported they did not watch the entire briefing because it was basic common knowledge. So basically, we're seeing really low numbers of people watching the briefing in the first place, right? Here's another study. 2009, U.S. Airways, the Hudson River, the flight 1549 into the Hudson, right? NTSB reported that of the 150 passengers, 17% reported watching most of the pre-flight safety briefing. So we only have 17% watching most of it, right?
And then an accident occurred where you needed to be watching it. Yeah.
Exactly. 19 passengers, or 13%, reported watching some of the demonstration. Only 8% reported reading the safety card before it or during the flight. And so basically you're looking at like 70% of the passengers not watching any of the safety briefing, and over 90% not reading the safety card. So the whole reason for this is as an intervention for passenger safety, kind of like a mandate basically for passengers to do. Now, if they can streamline this and make it super easy, right? Like, I know there are things where they can't necessarily take off from the tarmac until they've done these briefings, right? The flight attendants have to be seated, and they can't do that until after they've given the briefing. It's like required by law. And so there's a lot that goes into this, but if we can figure out some way to streamline this, show, there's in-flight entertainment on a lot of flights now, right? So maybe you put the game on a touch pad in front of them, not tablets that everyone hands out, right? So
yeah, you never get some of them back.
Right. And I will say, like, doing this game, playing this game, was kind of frustrating because it's like it made me want to complete these in a way that I wasn't. Let me try to explain. So they grade you on how well you do, right? So they say like, oh, well, your legs were not in the right place, or your hands were not in the right place. And if you take too long doing it, they were like, you did it, but it was slow. And so like the reason I did for 20 minutes was because I had to go back, right? And there's something that you can do on these flights with in-flight entertainment that would make this basically almost a requirement, right? What if you had to go through this training before you could get to in-flight entertainment?
That would be awesome. I think that's one of the better ways to
just
kind of implement it
in
into service. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a tutorial before you can get in, right? I mean, they don't let you do it before you even get in the air anyway, most times. So it's like, just, have it, they still do the safety briefing, but then do this right before you get on to any of the in-flight entertainment. And sure, it's not going to hit everybody. Some people have laptops, some people have phones that they look at. Sure. But it's going to hit like 80%. And so you flip those numbers for 70% not watching any of the safety briefing to 70% engaging with this type of game that's required before they can get to their in-flight entertainment. And sure, they might just like click through, provide an option to skip, whatever. But if it's there, probably most people will do it, or more people will pay attention to it than they are now, right?
Well, yeah, because you can kind of manage it, right? So you could require, the ones that are definitely required by law for you to know, similar to the things you do for like when they do in the safety briefing, like buckling your seatbelt, doing the oxygen, all that kind of stuff. So you don't have to like mandate that you're 100%ing it or getting all the achievements all the way through.
Right.
But the fact that you have interacted with it kind of provides that consent on both sides, that you understand the information you need to be in charge of. Because one thing I wanted to ask you, Nick, is you mentioned that it's on Android and iOS. Is that the like intended implementation? Because like to Kristen's point again, in a different light, I think I would have a harder time thinking I was going to do anything related to it if it required me to download something to my phone. And I imagine there's other people out there that would think the same. And so they would avoid it altogether. So I think your idea of like integrating it into the infotainment systems is excellent, because it's again like you're being rewarded with getting into the infotainment system.
Yeah, that's the way I see it working, if at all. This application, this game, is actually developed by HCI Lab over at University of UD. I'm not quite sure what that is. I'm looking it up right now. So Udine. So they've basically put out this game as a training application, and it seems like they are actually getting grants from the FAA to do safety research. But it seems like there are some other people out there who treat it like a full-blown game. So I'm not sure how that exactly works. Anyway,
I love every one of those people that treat that like a full-blown game. That's amazing.
They're talking about fleets of planes and stuff, and it's like air traffic control, basically.
That could be so fun for kids, I would imagine, like especially on like different aircraft and stuff like that. Like I didn't even think of, across the different versions of aircraft that are out there, you have different, safety features or whatever they may be on them. So that's cool. I could see how people would enjoy the game if they're like a big aviation head.
Yeah, it is kind of cool, right? So they have a whole series of games, and they even have an emergency water landing in VR if you want to try that out. So
let's go.
There's some pretty cool stuff on this on their website, so go check them out. But you mentioned a point that I wanted to get back to, and I forgot what it was. Can you please spark my memory again? It was about the intent, or maybe something else. I forget. That's the problem with recording these live, folks.
Absolutely. One thing I did want to bring up, because I have not necessarily heard games talked about with this term, was pervasive technology as an application, or persuasive technology as an application. And that was, so I grabbed the broad definition of it. So it's using technology that's designed to change your attitudes or behaviors. And it's almost like, okay, that psychology in general is trying to understand and change behavior. But it's not something that I really had seen used a lot of times, but apparently it's pretty prevalent in terms of design of software in HCI and things like that. So for anybody out there who had never really heard that term used as applied to video games. So I do think this is interesting, because actually I'm pretty sure Matteo put something in the chat related to this, but it seems like this Serious Games offshoot from the university in Italy has had impact in this kind of like training safety in various forms. So not just in aviation, but in other kind of like dangerous industries as well. So it's kind of cool that they're continuing to really focus on training and safety through game playing, even though, like you said, it's kind of lo-fi game playing, if you will. Although what you showed me, I was much more impressed with, because that looked like some, more modern Sims looking stuff than I expected. But definitely a cool field of study to be in at this point.
Yeah, I agree. I will say, if you're watching live, I encourage you to check out Twitch chat. Mateo's been posting a bunch of really helpful extra links here for, as it pertains to aviation safety and gaming. So go check those out. Mateo's on it. He's out there just posting all these links. Yeah, I don't know how much else I have to say about this, other than I think this is an interesting application and can be really powerful if they integrate it correctly. And I think this obviously transfers to other domains, and we'll get to that in just a minute. But any other closing thoughts on how this relates to aviation safety? Blake?
I think one thing that I would be careful of, and I want to keep an eye on how the studies go from Udine and the serious games kind of application here, because it's cool that because basically the way the study was put together is it was a 3x3 design. So it was, taking passengers, having them do 3 separate tasks. So the brace position, like Nick talked about, so that's like putting your hands under your knees and like bending over, bracing for impact, putting on your life vest, as well as putting on an oxygen mask. And then the 3 levels of or mediums that they were tested on or given these safety features on were either a briefing card, a video, or this serious game, which is so funny after looking at the screenshots of it. The name is great. But the 3 levels seem like it could capture anybody's attention across the 3. So the briefing card could be like the quick and dirty way of picking up anything. Video is a little bit more involved. And then the serious game is like very interactive. So I think based off of what we know about information processing, right? Like it's obvious that as you go up from each of these mediums that we should see kind of the video and the video game really providing a little bit more information retention. Maybe because they're also able to provide more detailed information about these various procedures than what you might find in just an illustration, like the comic illustrations they show in briefing cards. So it's one of those things where I would hope that they kind of keep all of the mediums of training for the interim, because I think I could imagine if my grandmother was still alive, like getting on a plane and like having to interact with something digital, it might be hard for her to do. So having, the video format is great. So I think it's just something that, although the game has a lot of potential in terms of, trainability and learning a lot of active skills, I think for the interim, until we can really figure out what the best way to present all of these things are, having multiple mediums across all of them really makes the most sense.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think this is a yes and situation where, yes, this works, and we're going to keep doing the briefings that we're doing now, right? Especially for, like you said, folks who may not be so technology literate, and but I think this serves kind of the opposite end of the spectrum. I'm bringing a comment here from Mateo, who says this might be engaging and fun and could take away from the frustration of having to have a good view of the attendant, and being able to rewatch could help with people with anxiety who are flying solo or who just have anxiety about being on airplanes in general, right? Knowing this stuff might be much better for them than, because sometimes you'll be sitting in a row and the flight attendant is right behind you and you can't really turn around to see them, and the other flight attendant is way in front of you, so you can't really see what they're doing. You don't really have a good view of what's going on. Sometimes they just play a video and they're fun and they got, Lego characters on them or whatever, but most of the time you're looking at a real world attendant. And if you can integrate this into the in-flight entertainment, that's almost a standard now, except for like Spirit and Frontier, I mean, I don't know how they're going to do it on there. They hand out like, I don't know, old 2009 tablets or something. And that's all they can afford. Anyway. Yeah, I think you're right. It's a yes and situation where they are bringing in the old way of presenting this information for those who need it, and then also the new way of information to help with some of this retention, right? And yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to follow up on kind of the second half of that comment from Mateo, and it is something I would be really interested to understand more about is, does this provide any kind of buffer for somebody who feels anxious about flying? Because I'm definitely one of those people. I do not like getting in airplanes. I don't like flying at all. But this kind of stuff, I could see how it could make you feel more confident if things were to go wrong, like that you feel like you know what the correct steps are, or you feel like you could, effectively execute them. And to the point of the game's design, it's meant to show you more than what they typically show you in that like 5 to 10 minutes before you take off. So it'd be cool if some of the like study cache, I guess, that goes to understanding safety and their retention, and then the application of playing these kind of games and seeing like, do people just watch this stuff more? really what would happen in terms of anxiety, and would people be able to get over kind of, in-flight fears and stuff like that.
Yeah. Any other points that you want to make with this story before we move on to some of the social thoughts?
No, I'm just really stoked that the community picked it, because this is something I was really, really interested in grad school. And what I kind of wanted to do somewhat of my thesis on was understanding the impacts of video games to training and its transfer to the real world. So this was cool to get a glimpse of that's still being done, even like in 2021. So 8 years later.
Yeah. One last point I'll make. Mateo brought it up here. There's another app for in-flight oddities, like what's happening or kind of the status of the plane as you're flying, to help with some of that flight anxiety. And I know I certainly have that up all the time, not necessarily as a anxiety soother, but just as a way to understand what's going on. Where am I in relation to the world? They have that like tracker. So anyway, I want to move on. We did ask on all of our socials earlier today, once we knew what the story was going to be. I think we're going to start doing this. We're going to call it Social Thoughts. This is kind of a way for you all to interact with us. Everyone likes hearing their name read on the show, and that's a way for us to connect with you as well, to bring in the thoughts from the community on these stories. So if you're looking out for them, look out for them on Thursdays. We're going to drop them as soon as we know what the story is for the day. So we did say, looks like tonight's news story is all about effectiveness of gaming as a training tool. We specifically asked, have any of you had experience with using games as training? And we heard back from friend of the pod, Ken Catchpole. And he writes, about 20 years ago, I worked with X-ray screeners in UK airports using game type concepts to improve knife, gun, bomb detection in baggage. And I shot back. I was like, oh, that's awesome. Is there, any efficacy improvements from using this? And he said, absolutely. And a range of other benefits, including better selection and career structure. So thanks for writing in, Ken. That's super awesome. And I want to hear from more of you. So if you see our stuff out there, we're going to post it, I think on Twitter and Instagram and our Slack and Discord channels as well. So be on the lookout for those. All right, Blake, any other last thoughts here?
No, I think that pretty much wraps it up. That's awesome that there was a lot of experience from the community, even about like applications of games to various fields. And it all seems like there's a lot of benefit to the aviation field in general.
Yeah, I agree. Well, huge thank you to our patrons this week for selecting our topic, and huge thank you, I guess, to the FAA and the Civil Aerospace Medical Institute for our news story this week. If you want to follow along, you can join me for office hours on Mondays, where I find these news stories. And we do post links to the original articles on our weekly roundups on our blog. You can also join us on our Slack or Discord to get more involved in these discussion on these stories. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back to see what's going on in the Human Factors community right after this.
Human Factors Cast brings you the best in human factors news, interviews, conference coverage, and overall fun conversations into each and every episode we produce. But we can't do it without you. The Human Factors Cast network is 100% listener supported. All the funds that go into running the show come from our listeners. Our patrons are our priority, and we want to ensure we're giving back to you for supporting us. Pledges start at just $1 per month and include rewards like access to our weekly Q&As with the hosts, personalized professional reviews, and Human Factors Minute, a Patreon-only weekly podcast where the hosts break down unique, obscure, and interesting human factors topics in just 1 minute. Patreon rewards are always evolving, so stop by patreon.com/humanfactorscast to see what support level may be right for you. Thank you, and remember, it depends.
Yes, huge thank you as always to our patrons, especially our honorary Human Factors Cast staff patron, Michelle Tripp. Patrons like you keep the show running. Thank you so much for your continued support. Speaking of Patreon, we are always pushing out new things on that platform for you all. If you are a patron, you know that we do Human Factors Minute. It's a ton of fun for us to put together and really educational for you. So if you like the show and want to help support us financially, that might be right for you. Okay, let's switch gears and get into this next part of the show we like to call stupid graphics.
It came from.
When will Blake update the stupid graphic? I don't know.
One day.
One day. The stupid graphic that Nick made. Let's be clear. All right. This is this is the part of the show called It Came From. This is where we look all over the internet to bring you topics the community is talking about. Any topic is fair game, as long as we can talk about it as human factors professionals. Okay, we got a couple tonight. They're all from the user experience subreddit, so we'll get that out of the way. Okay, this first one's kind of a doozy here, Blake. It's from Aurora Daydream on the user experience subreddit. This is, I've always heard about developers not taking designers seriously, but didn't have that happen to me until today. I started working at a new company a couple weeks back and came up with a solution for a minor problem, which was validated by all relevant stakeholders. Meanwhile, the devs are not happy with the usability of the solution. This is something that affects less than 1% of the users, so there are a couple more steps than ideal in the solution, since the focus was not making it the biggest action on the page. The devs decide they want to pitch their own solution, delay the sprint by a week, and propose the most out-of-context, bizarre solution. We went ahead with my original proposed solution, but I feel like this whole scenario came from zero trust in the designers. Not sure if I'm looking for advice or just ranting. Let's talk about it this way, Blake. Have you ever experienced pushback from a developer? Have they ever gone behind your back and implemented a solution that's not what you wanted? Or have you ever had kind of a situation where you needed to navigate this delicate balance of not ruining professional relationships and communicating effectively? Have you ever had that happen?
Yeah, 100%. And so to give a little context, and this is why I'm really interested in this question, context for me. So in a lot of my experience, my working with developers is a very kind of like siloed effect. So being a contractor, I don't necessarily work with a in-house developer. I work with contracting firms. That's typically how things have run. Now for anybody that knows me, one thing that I have started doing is doing more development. So I've been able to act as an in-house developer for a little while, but this is an all familiar situation, just because of, differences in needs, opinions, interpretations of, what's usable, what's not, that kind of stuff. But it's interesting here because the way I'm reading this, and if you have a different interpretation, Nick, let me know, but it sounds like this is all in-house, all working on a product together. Yeah. And still seeing some similar type of like personality pushback type stuff. And one thing that I guess sticks out to me the most, and I wish we could like have these people on the podcast or on Twitch to tell us a little bit more about these situations. Because when you see like the devs are not happy with the usability of the solution, in this case, what does that mean? Like what is the usability issue? And they describe it a little bit more that like maybe there's a few more steps. And so sometimes what I have found is people get very hung up on heuristics in user experience design, particularly. It's like, if it's less clicks, then it's better. Well, from a performance standpoint, sure, but it doesn't always optimize the experience or make the most sense just to reduce every kind of click path. So there may be more to it here. But to get more to the point of, like, is this coming from my developers not trusting me? Maybe, but I would read into this a little bit more that I would say the developers maybe don't feel like they're included in or part of the design process. And so, like, when we started this off, Nick, you asked, like, have you experienced this kind of thing in the past? And of course, yes, I've run into it more than once. But the way that I've found a way to navigate it, like outside of just having a conversation or like bringing up user interaction data or like using stakeholders' help, is trying to include the development team in the design process more in an integrated fashion. Sometimes that can make them feel like they understand why the solution is the way it is. And especially if we go back to kind of the statement they make here, like all of the relevant stakeholders validated the solution. Well, your developers are a relevant stakeholder. They're the people that are going to actually build this solution so that users have something to actually interact with. So I think it just comes from maybe they don't trust you, or maybe they just don't feel like they're included enough in the process so they understand why changes are being requested and made. Because keep in mind, development's not always easy. And so sometimes maybe keeping things as they are is simpler and it makes more sense and it costs less time. So delaying a sprint to go through a different type of solution, sometimes you can expect that. And it's just like a back and forth you have to have. But so Nick, from your perspective, I mean, have you run into this before where like you're working on a project, you come up with a design concept with your designer and you propose it to the development team and they don't want to implement it?
Yeah, I've definitely run into this before. I agree with a lot of what you're saying, Blake. I think the biggest thing is that you want to include the dev team on the design solution, or at least get their feedback before you come down on the final solution, right? So I was working on a project, and I think there's one specific example I'm thinking of. I'll leave out details here out of respect for the people I was working with, but basically the idea is that they couldn't do what we were asking them to do for the product with the basically the outcome that we were hoping for without kind of restructuring the code behind it, right? So it's a big overhaul to do the thing that we were asking. And they had agreed to it up front, thinking that they could do it. And then I think it was kind of a lack of communication on their part. They did not tell us that it could not be done until we had already moved on to the next thing. And so they came up with their own solution and did the thing. And it was in their mind what the best solution was. And we kind of came back and said, well, no, we thought the other thing was going to work. And then so we worked with them to find out, what other solutions we could use or do using the code that was, possible within the code. Let's say that. So it was a huge headache because we were trying to communicate and we were trying to involve them. And even to the best of our ability, we did involve them, and they thought it was possible, but it actually wasn't. And so, even in cases like that, you'll run into it. And it was one of those scenarios where it was a contracted developer. And so it wasn't in-house. It's not like I could just walk over to the next office over and say, hey, what's going on with this? Or, they couldn't walk over to us and say, hey, what's going on with this? Despite us saying, our phones are open, just let us know. And so that makes it difficult. And so the best thing I can do is, try to encourage that open communication. Hey, if you run into anything you're not sure about, just let us know. We'll be happy to, go over some of the details that we found in our usability study with you to see what else might work if this doesn't work. I don't know. I have a hard time with this question because, I think there is always that level of, so it's not disrespect. What's the word I'm looking for? It's like, basically developers don't necessarily trust you because you're coming in and telling them what to do. And so like we said, involve them in the process as much as you can. And when you can't, show them how you got to your solution, right? Show them the data that you got from your usability study, and that will make a large difference for the way that they perceive the solution, right? You say, it's not me telling you to do this. It's the users that are asking for this thing. It's the users that need this thing. And so kind of creating that empathy for the user as kind of the prime solution. It sounds like a little bit different here because this is part of the 1% of users, which sounds like a power user thing to me. And so they'll get used to it anyway. That's just my opinion, but it could be a little bit different in this context, but I don't know. It's a tough situation no matter where you're coming from, and just treat it with care, I guess, is my best advice there. Anything else for that one, Blake?
One tidbit here for especially since this is a designer and it's something I can identify with. especially being somebody who's focused a lot of the last year and a half on front end development and running into cases where I have to go back to my team and be like, there's just no way I can alone develop that solution. We have to think of another design solution, and here's X, Y, and Z we can do. Is if you really feel like you're running into a case where your developers don't trust you, you may need to just interact with them about that specific thing. It's not easy to do. It's not an easy conversation to have. But I think sometimes designers can run into that they start designing solutions, they prototype and test those solutions in a vacuum away from the development team without understanding what are the limitations of the existing framework or code that's already built or budget and timeline. So interacting with your development team to understand those things, that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about understanding how to bring them into the design process. And having them be, flies on the wall for user testing is a great way to also let them see, like, I get that this thing that you guys are not happy with from a usability perspective makes sense and you have rationale for it, but from an end user point of view, it's affecting like nobody and not anybody that can get around it. So it's just something that you have to really kind of be proactive about. And I don't think anybody teaches you this kind of stuff in school or, it's something you get mentored on your, first few years in a job. So don't feel bad about it. There's plenty of proactive ways to go and kind of get respect or get on the same page as your development team.
You had a good segue in there somewhere about, designing in a
vacuum
silo, a vacuum. Yeah, there you go. So I'm gonna lead into this next question because I feel like that is a great segue. I feel like I suck at my job. This is from Saturday Gal on the user experience subreddit. I'm working in a large organization, got put on a team working on one of their apps. It's only my 5th week, and the industry/product is complicated. So they said all will take around 6 months for me to get it. I was tasked with coming up with some ideas for a new product feature, and it's like I completely missed the mark. I just overdesigned and was too visionary with it. This is the second time this has happened, but I kind of just have to go for it because I don't have much knowledge of the users or the product. That's even what they said to do. They know I'm green, but it's embarrassing, and in our group discussions, I've shut down because I feel like I don't know enough to add to the conversation, if that makes sense. On top of that, I keep missing small details that I don't think they understand the way I work by going big picture, then details later. I feel anxious and on edge. My manager keeps reassuring me, but I feel like I don't mesh and come off completely uneducated to UX. I've also unmanaged issues with attentiveness and focus, and I have trouble focusing and listening to conversations through a screen all day. I feel like shit. Help me.
Wow. That's really heavy. Nick, I want to take a different approach to how I answer some of these. I happened to read something today, and I think it fits really well into it. So I'm going to read like a blurb.
You read it.
Got about this.
Yeah.
So failure is part of success. It allows us to improve, and we shouldn't be angry about it. And when you open up your mindset and you try to just free yourself up to just try and get rid of the fear of failure, you'll often find that you'll be more successful down the road. And that's really what this sounds like to me is you have walked into something brand new. And I don't know what large organization means, but it probably means something pretty intense if they're telling you you're not going to understand really how to make an impact before you hit the 6 months mark. That means they've paid attention to the people they've brought in and they've measured and done the work to figure out how long does it take for people to wrap their head around how we work, what we expect, the quality of work, the product, whatever. So, I mean, I would just take this as a great opportunity for, obviously you made it in, it's only your 5th week. If you feel like you're failing, that's okay. Be super active and proactive about getting feedback and understanding like, okay, if I feel like I'm falling short, 1, am I actually falling short? And then 2, what are things that I can work on or think about? It does sound like that you're probably in some tough conversations, which is going to happen. I mean, in a lot of larger corporations, they have different types of cultures. Sometimes it's, be who you are, and it can be really a tough environment for somebody that's new to a large organization. And if you're noticing that you're missing small details or you think big picture first, one way that I've gotten around that before is setting expectations when we start meetings of, hey guys, don't focus on the details, focus on whatever the main goal of what we're trying to get to is. Don't worry so much about all of the little tiny things that I haven't figured out yet, because I'm not in that phase of design. But ultimately, you kind of have to figure out what works best for you and the teams you work on. But Nick, have you ever felt this way? And if you have, like, what have you done to try and mitigate some of it?
Blake, let me tell you, we picked this during the pre-show. I didn't read through the whole thing. I read like little excerpts, but reading it tonight, it felt like this is a younger me writing my experience with a job that I had. So like I had no idea the domain. I feel like I came in, tried to do what they asked of me, and just felt like it wasn't that's what I'm looking for. It wasn't satisfactory. And what I did was I started a podcast because I felt like I needed to show my intelligence some other way. And as sad as an answer that is, I like it took a very long time. It took about 6 months for me to get comfortable with the teams that I was working with and the projects that I was working on before I felt like I was kind of up to speed. And there are just industries where you will spend years working on something and still feel like you just have no idea. And it sucks. It does suck. It really bad. Like I will say there are domains that took me years to understand. And it's because I had no prior experience with them. It's because I had, the limited access to users, we'll say that. And the people who did have access to users maybe didn't communicate what needed to be communicated down. And so it made it a very tough working environment. All I can say is try your best. I mean, if it is a large organization, the best you can do in your free time is to research who you're working for and the product that you're on. I think, that was something that helped me out a lot. There are publicly available things a lot of the times that you can look up to see more information on that. If you can get an understanding of something, and if you don't understand it, ask somebody and see if there's reading materials that you can get to help better wrap your head around this problem. It's tough. It's really tough. And I feel like I'm talking to, early career Nick. I do. I feel like this is me writing this a couple years ago. It really sucks. And I'm very sorry that you're experiencing this. I don't know what else to say. Like, it gets better? I don't know.
It does. I mean, this is so early in the game for this person.
5 weeks.
I just, if you can, like, be retrospective and think about the fact that you're working in a large organization. So something got you to the dance. So you know how to do something. And that's a good sign. It's not easy to get in large companies. I don't know which one this is or who it is or what the product is, but it's not an easy thing to do. So if you feel like your team around you is supportive, like, take the support and continue to try and grow. Nick, I think you're right. I think it just time needs to go by and they need to get more comfortable in their skin at the job.
Yeah. Either that or form connections with the people, like you said, Blake, that are working with you and make them like you enough to not can you if you still don't understand the product after years. So, I mean, there's that approach too. I'm going to leave it there. I'm really sorry. That sucks. And I totally get it. All right, let's get into this next one here. Is it normal for UX tests to keep failing? This is by Sad Mustache on the user experience subreddit. I'm a developer that works with a UX team. I know just basics of UX. I have been writing tests for UX and majority of them fail. The website looks outdated, something from mid or early 2010. It's really disheartening to see the majority of my work to be discarded. So I wonder if that's normal. Do majority of UX tests are meant to fail? Blake, do you design your UX tests to fail?
Absolutely not. Although sometimes you're asking questions and one of the answers can be you fail or it's not good. But this is kind of an interesting one because it's the polar opposite of the first question. Now we've got a developer asking us about writing UX test. I'm a little confused on what writing a UX test would be in this kind of situation. I would imagine maybe there's specific unit tests you could be writing. They're really focused on user experience and like front end issues. And if they keep failing, that's awful because if it's happening in a development side of things, then you probably really do have an issue. There also seems to be something going on here with the developer feeling like their work's getting tossed out based on some of these tasks too. So I don't know. I mean, you don't want to continue failing UX tests. No, that's not a great thing. It could have to do with how you're putting them together. If you're asking the wrong questions, you have the wrong users, but usually you kind of start to get a sense of that early on. It may mean that it's time to really take a step back and stop running tests and kind of think about like, what has the data told you thus far about why there's failure in some of these UX tests? Again, I would love to bring people on like this was a radio show and talk to them about these things because I want to have like a operational definition here of what UX test means.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, Nick, do you think this is okay?
My interpretation of this is that they are coding up prototypes. And this, to me, could be at fault of the UX or human factors person on the team who is failing to develop prototypes that are appropriate for the stage that they're at. You know, if you're still trying to figure out whether or not a design would work, and you're asking somebody to code that design up so that way it can be tested, that feels like a waste of resources to me. There are ways that you can test things like mock-ups or a PowerPoint interface, you know, test that to begin with instead of a full-blown test. It could also be, you know, coding up an A/B test. I'm again unsure, like you are, Blake, of what UX test means, but what I'm understanding is that they are testing prototypes, especially if they are testing something mid to early 2010. That sounds like something that's probably really flat, maybe wireframey design to me. And maybe the UX person or human factors person isn't communicating exactly what they're testing. I think there are ways to get around it to the point where they're only coding up like a final solution. And this just seems wasteful to me. In terms of whether or not you design UX tests to fail, I don't think you do. I think you design UX tests to be exploratory, right? You have a hunch about something. If it works, then your hunch is validated. If it does not work, then you go back to the drawing board literally and figure out something else that's going to potentially work. But if you've done your research on your users and know what they need, then theoretically you should never need to get to the point where you what's the word I'm looking for? You don't need to redo the work, right? You just add to it. It's the whole iteration cycle, right? You'll have some degree of understanding to begin with, and so you start with that, and then you come back and all the work isn't thrown out. Maybe some of it, right? But it feels like in this case, they are literally A/B testing something from the get-go and don't quite understand the user. Maybe they got the person from the second question here. I don't know. Like
maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. This is a tough one because I don't come from the dev world, but I do understand empathy and communication, and so I think that's really important. So if you're listening, communicate with your developers and communicate with your other with your team. That's the bottom line for me.
Absolutely. One thing here too, just like we recommended for the user experience person, ask questions, go talk to the UX team and kind of understand what the process is, because maybe that'll help illuminate to them like how you feel. Because I think it's important for anybody to know that you feel like your work's being discarded. If you're a user experience designer, if you're a HF practitioner, if you're a developer, whatever, that you shouldn't be feeling that way. And if there is rationale for it, if you know it, maybe it'll change your opinion. But like Nick said, this feels like an odd use of resources, given that if you're just developing something, you don't think it even looks right, and then it's failing or quote unquote not succeeding in any way, or telling the UX team what they need to know. It's probably just a good time to have a conversation with the team.
Yeah. All right. No time for one more thing tonight, but that's going to be it for today, everyone. Let us know what you guys think of the news story this week. Do you like games? Do you like airplanes? You can hang out with us on our Slack or Discord. Get to us on any of our social channels. Let us know. Visit our official website and sign up for our newsletter. Stay up to date with all the latest Human Factors news. If you like what you hear, you want to support the show, there's a couple things you can do. One, leave us a 5-star review. That is completely free for you to do, except for your time. We really appreciate those. Tell your friends about us. That's number 2. That helps the show grow. If you like it, chances are your friends and colleagues will like the show as well. 3, if you're able to, consider supporting us on Patreon. We will always take your dollars, but we'll give back to you for doing so. And as always, links to all of our socials and our website are in the description of this episode. I want to thank Mr. Blake Arnsdorff for being on the show today. Where can our listeners go and find you if they want to talk about flying games?
You guys can always find me inside of the Human Factors Cast Discord or Slack at Blake, and you can find me across social media at Don't Panic UX.
As for me, I've been your host, Nick Roome. You can find me streaming on Twitch Mondays at 4 Pacific for office hours and across social media at Nick_Roome. Thanks again for tuning into Human Factors Cast. Until next time, it depends. All right, if you're hanging out with us, post-show time. We spent way more time on those It Came Froms than I thought we would.
Yeah, well, they were pretty intense.
Yeah, that second one, man. That was rough. I almost got a little sad reading that one.
Yeah, I mean, that was a tough one because it's never good to read if anybody feels that way at work. But then, like, it's also compounded if you felt like that in your own job at some point.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, it was... I wish I had read more before the show, because I saw that and I was like, oh, cool, fine, good question. And I read it and I was like, oh my gosh, is this me 5-10 years ago? 5, how many years ago? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Is this me a couple years ago?
It's good. Hopefully the person who wrote it is able to hear it, or somebody that needs to does.
Yeah, hopefully that helps. Hopefully that helps. I wish I would have heard that when I was going through that. It sucks, but you'll get through it and things will be fine. Start a podcast and you'll feel better. You able to stick around for a post show tonight, Blake, or you got doggy duty?
I do have dog duties. So I'm going to have to pop off. I can hang out for a few minutes because I got to still export and send you things anyway.
All right. Short post show tonight. That was a cool story. I was really stoked on that, and really glad we didn't need a whole lot of extra intel, because I feel like we just kind of went for it.
Yeah, we didn't need gnarly anything. Goodness.
Yeah.
I was glad that you actually brought the game up on stream so people could see it, because it was helpful for me to see it, and then it was easier to also describe it on the podcast itself. So that was fun.
Yeah.
Actually, I want to dig through chat and grab the... Well, I don't know if I can, actually, because I want to look at that other article that Mateo posted about this particular serious games or whatever being used for another field, because I saw him post it and then I didn't see it.
Can you do me a solid and grab those links so we can post them in the show description?
I cannot scroll through the chat, so I can only grab the top 2.
Wow. That's not good.
Yeah, it's only showing me, as many as it can.
Hey, Mateo, if you're still watching, would you mind shooting that to us via Discord? Just a list of those links. I would like to put those in the show notes for everybody's convenience. Oh, Kristen's got it. Excellent.
Perfection.
Get those.
Thank you.
Oh, dude, this song's a banger. You hear this?
It is. Little strat action.
All right, we'll include those. Let's see here. I'll what do I call them? Like extra Mateo's links or something.
Yeah. That guy from Perth's links.
That guy from Perth. I'll just say like extra links from chat tonight, or extra links from live chat or something.
Yeah.
I think that's good. Extra links from live chat. Dig that. Let's see. It's saying 103 degrees outside here.
Feels like 103 degrees in my room right now. Oh, it's not cool. Is this 2014 or 214? Not 2014.
All right, Kristen's throwing them in the chat. Great. In our Discord lab.
I've got to remember to mute the Discord when we start the shows because it keeps like.
Oh, it keeps going for me too. I mean, it's helpful
happening?
because if somebody replies with an experience from the show thoughts, was it?
That's a good one.
Then I want to make sure I don't miss it.
It's not really very invasive, but I kept like freaking out that it could like you could hear the sound or it would record, but obviously it's not. Doesn't make any sense. Seeing it's all running through my headphones.
Yeah.
So for those that still stuck around, my one more thing was going to be this little dude. Whipping him up slowly.
Oh, what's that? I know it's Boba Fett, but
yeah, it's some like it's like just really thin sheet metal. It's like a model that Elise gave me not a long time ago, and I just found tweezers that I can actually use to make it up.
Dude, I could have lent you some tweezers. I got a ton over here. Did you hear me fidgeting? I still fidgeted with my stuff.
I didn't hear it this time,
okay.
Or I didn't hear it throughout the show.
Okay, because I was fidgeting throughout the show.
Yeah, I do the same.
Yeah, I wasn't. I was surprised when I looked up and saw we were over a minute and or over an hour. Sorry, and we really.
What did we go hammer on?
I don't know.
Was it just it came from Reddit's word? Like
I think it was the Reddit's word. Yeah. So for everyone's awareness, we try to stick it just under an hour because of IGTV restrictions. So we can go like an hour and 1 minute because I'll usually cut the patron commercial on IGTV because that's exactly 1 minute. Anyway, IGTV has been pretty good for discoverability. Thank you, Kristen, for grabbing those links. I really appreciate it.
Saving lives.
Yeah, I got them all in our show notes. Man, there's so much stuff to do. I'm going to be up till midnight. I'm always up till midnight on Thursdays, I feel. Because there's...
Is that checklist Gron? Goodness.
Yeah, it's grown so much.
That large? It's grown.
It really has. I mean, it's not that much when you think about it, but altogether, it's just so overwhelming.
It is if it takes you to midnight. For fuck's sake. Oh man, is there stuff that you can offload?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it I probably could, but it's like an availability thing. Like who's available on Thursday nights to do it is the thing. And a lot of it is dependent on some of that other stuff. So it's like I would hit a roadblock immediately. It's like,
yeah, in that case, then there's no easy way out.
It's like I have to produce all the art, and I have to do that before the show goes live, and also before the show goes live, I have to produce the show.
Is there anybody in the chat, or not the chat, in the lab that would want to do the art stuff?
Rachel, we tried getting Rachel to do it, but I think again, time commitments and time availability is the issue there. So, yes, but you know, and then the other problem is that we don't even know what the story is until Thursdays. So it's like, you know, and I need that to put up the restream events before, you know.
Oh yeah, so
it's like this whole list of dependencies that need to happen in a specific order. It's like, so first I need the YouTube thumbnail so that I can upload it into stream. I need the show description article for the evening, and then, you know, once we've done recording, then I need to produce the episode, get the show art out there. I've started holding off on actually launching the show until I get the full audio version out to our patrons because I want them to have it first. You know, and then there's the production of the Instagram IGTV part of it, and then there's like the like admin stuff of putting things into collections and on playlists and all that stuff, and that can happen like almost immediately after, but I would rather prefer it while the other things are kind of exporting, and you know, but I've made it kind of easier on myself because I haven't set like a time on Thursday nights. Everything's been launching Friday mornings now for us here in the States anyway. So it's a little bit delayed from you know, Thursday night. Now everything goes out on social on Friday morning. So it gives me, you know, a little bit of extra time on Thursday nights to kind of sit back, do the things I need to do. Looks like Mateo's got to go. So thank you, Mateo. Appreciate all the extra links tonight. Thank you for hanging out.
Enjoy your coffee, man.
Yeah, it's morning time over in Perth.
Yeah. He made a comment about mushrooms earlier, and I was wondering what supplement he'd been taking, or if he's drinking mushroom coffee. I'll have to ask him at the next lab meeting.
Yeah, we don't want to get him in trouble.
No, I mean, there's like a bunch of nootropics and stuff that are all mushroom based, and I'm wondering, based on some of the like, because he was talking about like high octane coffee, if that's what he's using.
Oh,
that's the only way I make it through the show is taking Alpha Brain before the show.
That's the only way I made it through the show tonight. Oh yeah, and then we need the transcript, but that can't happen until the show is produced.
Goodness, it's a lot of stuff. All for a pod. At least we don't do this more than once a week.
Oh, that surprise, Blake. We're moving to twice a week.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be awful.
It wouldn't be.
It wouldn't be just.
It's a time commitment that like I don't think either one of us could make, especially if it's. I mean, this is the reality is we're not making, you know, money to do the podcast. Really, it's barely being sustained for the things we're doing.
Yeah.
So
support us on Patreon.
So tough.
Follow us everywhere. Subscribe to our channel. Do all that stuff. It helps. Yeah, I agree. I think, you know, if we ever did get to that point, it would be so cool to like have that supplement, you know, being like, oh, okay, we can actually do some conference coverage and not have it, you know, break our own personal banks or anything like that. You know, it'd be kind of cool. We need a show sponsor.
Need show sponsors.
One. You can only have one.
Yeah. See how that goes.
Oh, I bought something interesting. You want to see?
Why not?
I don't know why I have it right here at my desk.
Because why not? Oh yeah, there you go. Skill saw.
About one of these to help with the pod.
With the pod for the pod, yeah.
Yeah, the pod for the pod. It all comes back to the show. Look, see, I'm so dedicated. I've purchased a $200 handsaw.
Good old skill saw. Yeah. That's funny.
It's a worm drive. I've never used a worm drive before.
No?
No. Have you used a worm drive?
I have. I haven't used anything else before.
Oh, really?
I don't think so.
Like the what's the normal drive? I forget. Because I forget what the normal drive is called. It's the one where you hold it and the blade is on the right, but the worm drive is where the blade is on the left.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember. Anyway, my dad used to have a other drive, and I remember using that thing when I was like a kid or teenager or something, and I always found it funny that I didn't have the line of sight on the blade. And now with this one I do, although it probably is a little bit more dangerous because it's towards me and not away from me, but safety.
Keeps you on your toes.
Yeah.
It's good for you.
Unless it chops off my toes.
Yeah, and then you're literally on your toes.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, I will let you go. I think we're going to get out of here. Thanks for hanging out with us. And it's a little quick post show, but really appreciate everyone sticking around and watching tonight. If you can, give it a thumbs up or like or whatever the platform that you're watching this on allows a retweet. I don't know. We're everywhere. So, all that stuff helps for the algorithms and stuff. And maybe YouTube has done us a favor and put our news short in the feed. Did you see that, Blake? We got like 350 views on our Human Factors news short last week. It was kind of crazy.
Those things go pretty quickly.
So
pretty sick.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week for another episode, and we'll have a good time then.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Bye.